what we're going to do, okay, you probably saw the pictures of these. I've got to make sure I get these in the right place with the camera. There we go. These are some skips that I've weathered up a few weeks ago. I only used 3-4 colours on these. I've got quite a selection of colours this evening, but I might not use them all. I've just got them out of the drawer in case I decide to use them. Main colours, these skips are painted yellow. I know all skips aren't yellow. There's a company around here with blue ones, a couple of green skips. You can paint them whatever colour you want. There's a few with green outside or exteriors, and then the inside of the skip is yellow. But the main thing with skips is they get very battered and very rusty. I was looking at the one, I keep saying don't like saying try not to say it. There's a skip just around the corner from here that I was looking at lunchtime, which is dark blue with yellow underneath the dark blue. A lot of it's been scratched off, and then underneath all that is an awful lot of rust scratches, and it's very dark rust. So we're going to need a dark brown for doing that. The inside, the inside of it here is coated with dark brown, and then I put some black on, and then I've put some white and grey just to mimic plaster, things like that being thrown in. Tile grout, anything like that, cans of paint. I know they always say never put paint in a skip, they don't want tins of paint, but there's always a tin of paint been thrown in. So we've got dribbles of black and grey, and you could do various other colours if you want. We've got some engine oil down there. They probably don't like engine oil in them either, but it's always there. There's always lots of stains. So what we're going to try and do is mimic what I did here. Obviously, it won't be an exact copy, and no two skips are going to be the same. So we're going to have a play. We've put the transfers on our skips ready to go. So if you've painted yours and put the transfers on, you'll be ready to dry brush them. Don't have to put the transfers on either. It's entirely up to you. So I've built those two, and we're going to get them looking, hopefully, rusty and a bit worse for wear. So, tools we need. First up, bit of tissue. Tissue, rag, anything. You need something to wipe the paint off, because you're going to get really quite a lot of paint on there and not a lot on your brush. You need very, very little paint, and without a tissue, you just have far too much. It's quite difficult to get used to the fact that you have to waste a bit of paint when you do this. I'm very tight, and I don't like wasting paint, and you have to get rid of a lot of it, or most of it, on there. So little ends up on your model. We're going to need paint brushes. I've got a selection. As you can see, they're rather battle worn, shall we say. We've got 3 from the blue sets that we sell downstairs, the set of 10 paintbrushes, I think it is. So there's a kind of small round one, if you can see the tip of that, just a small square-ended round thing. A couple of very fine ones. I think these have been trimmed down by somebody. I don't know who did that, but somebody's trimmed them down. So there's some very fine ones. We might have put some little streaks or something. Another not so fine. These are just watercolour brushes, just standard artist brushes, but so we've got sets of them downstairs if anybody wants any. We've got a flat. This is very worse for wear because these have been left in the pot of water overnight at some point, and they've swelled up and lost all their outer coatings. So these look like play school brushes. So this one is a chisel-y type thing, which is good for edge detail. So when we do the detail along here, we'll use that across the top because it's a nice flat brush. So it's good for sort of just picking out surface detail. There. We've got this is our Ken Dodd brush. There we go. Looks more like Ken Dodd's hair, that one. If you remember Ken Dodd. It's all over the shop, that one. That's good for just general mess, really. It's not a very well looked after brush, that, but it's great for just sort of scrubbing around with, and it gets some good effects with that. That's what that's for. And then we've got a stippling brush, which is kind of a flat end, if you can see, but a round, very flat end. If that's working, yeah. So my phone keeps locking up, so I can't tell whether you can see it or not. So there you go. That's just a stippled brush. All that is a standard artist brush with the end cut off with a pair of scissors. So nothing fancy. You really can use the scrag ends of your paintbrush collection for this. You don't need anything expensive. Right, what else have we got? So, all important jar of water to rinse the brushes out. Don't get it mixed up with your glass of water, which is over there to my right. So don't drink out the wrong one. Colour wise, okay. So on the sheet that I've given you, or will be giving you, it's like school, isn't it? You get a handout. On the sheet that I'm going to give you, there's a list of kind of useful colours for general weathering. This one is a dark brown called Van Dyke brown. No idea who Van Dyke is, but apart from Dick. This is just a dark brown. Don't think he's got anything to do with him. So there's a dark brown. We've got burnt umber, which is good for general rust. This one's perhaps a little bit lighter than the one I normally use, but I think Jess has borrowed the other one to do some rusty barrels, I think. Then we've got raw umber, which is just a soily brown. I saw a thing on, what did I see on social media the other day? It was an artist thing somewhere that said, I take it umber's very difficult to cook or something, because all I've ever seen is raw umber and burnt umber. Nobody's ever managed to cook it properly. I thought it was quite funny. Tina's not laughing. She didn't find it very funny. But I thought it was funny. We've got an ivory, which is useful for paint streaks or just a bit of lightening of things. Then I've got dark yellow or yellow ochre. Don't know. Ochre, whatever. Ochre. Then we've got a couple of greys, which are there. This Payne's grey. Again, no idea who he is. Neutral grey. These are massive. I say, if you've got anything like these have been in the drawer for a while. You've got enough here to weather the entirety of your local city if you really wanted to. It'll last you forever. Then we've got a bit of black and a bit of white. The white is useful for like the, say, plaster or just general building waste and stuff where that's rubbed down, and what do you call it, concrete blocks and stuff, where they've concrete, but it's rubbed down the side of the skip as it's been loaded. Then we've got perhaps a bit of red for paint marks, things like that, and a blue as well. Just something to add a bit of interest to the skip, really. So I suppose we better get started. One last thing that I've also got is, this is actually an old coaster blank, which is just a bit of Perspex. I use it as a palette, and I always forget to wash it. So mine normally ends up looking like that, and then I scrub it with a scouring pad and it goes all sort of cloudy. But it does work. It's great for mixing stuff on, so you can just squeeze something onto there.
I was just going to say, Clybridge Station says it's like watching the joy of painting.
The joy of painting? I've never seen the joy of painting. Oh, him, Bob Ross. Oh, no, I don't know him. I know of him, Bob Ross. Hopefully it'll be as useful as this video. Whether it will be, I don't know. Anyway, so we've got an old coaster blank. You use a bit of plastic. We'll also put some of these up in the shop if anybody specifically wants a scale model scenery palette. But anything will do. Just something you can mix paint on that's not porous and absorbent, really.